the appearance of Lord Ram and Ravan. So they are the two principal characters of Ramayan, and both of them are in their own way illustrious. Lord Ram, for obvious reasons, that he is none other than Lord Krishna, is Vishnu incarnation of Krishna, and also Ravan. He is the incarnation of Jai, who is a very, very intimate associate of Lord Vishnu. So in addition to being Choti Diwali, today is also famous for another festival day. Does anybody know what it is? Narak Chaturdashi. So Narak Chaturdashi is celebrated as the day on which Krishna killed, or more accurately, he caused the killing of Narkasur. So Narkasur is actually the son of Krishna. In the early part of Satyug, when it is said the first demon, Hiranyaksha, had taken the Bhumi Devi and submerged her in the depth of Garbhoda ocean, then Lord Krishna took the roop of Varadev. And as Varadev, he had picked up Bhumi Devi on his tusk and put her back in her place. So as a result of that contract, Bhaumasur was born, and he was born. He was actually born as a very pious person, for obvious reasons. That his mother was Bhumi Devi, and his father was none other than the personality of God in himself. But it is said that over time, and this talks about the potency of association, that it can affect both positively and negatively. So it said over time he fell into bad association. So he was associated very intimately with Mura demon and later on with Banasur, and because of that he became a full far-out demon, and he had actually captured 16,100 princes that at one point he wanted to marry to establish his supremacy. So Bhumi Devi at one point had taken this vow from Krishna that he would not kill Bhaumasur, because she saw that Bhaumasur was going on the path that eventually he would have to be killed. He was doing all kind of activities that were impious, and Krishna actually does not kill Bhaumasur, but he creates a situation in which his wife Satyabhama, she kills Bhaumasur. And it is said that after the killing of Bhaumasur, Krishna took a bath, and then he gave the benediction that anybody who takes a bath on this day does not ever go to the hellish planets. So that's why this is known as Narak Chaturdashi. And when we were kids, Mother used to tell us that if you don't take a bath on this day, you are certain to go to Narak. So we all, just for good measure, we used to take baths 2 or 3 times a day just to protect us from going there. The underlying understanding behind all these benedictions is that one does it with faith, because we see the Falstuti in so many things. It's said that anybody recites these prayers, the following things will happen. Anybody who follows this vrata, the following things will happen. They're known as Falstuti, the benedictions. And but the understanding is that one has only access to the benedictions when it is done with faith, not when it is done mechanically. So back to a little bit of pastime behind the appearance of. So first we talk a little bit about Ravan, and then about Lord Ram, the appearance of Ravan and Lord Ram. So there were 2 very powerful demons, Rakshasas, known as Heti and Praheti. So the word Rakshas, the root of the word Rakshas is Raksha. So Raksha means one who protects. So initially when the Rakshasas had come into existence, they went to Brahma and they asked what's our duty? What is it that we're supposed to do? And then Lord Brahma said that you protect, and according to some commentators, he said you protect the waters, and according to some it was you protect the nether worlds, the Patalu. So their purpose was to do Raksha, to protect, and later on they got messed up. They, they started becoming very proud of this strength. They offended Brahmins, they got cursed, and so they became man-eaters and fearsome creatures. So amongst Heti and Praheti was very pious. He was very much inclined to perform asceticism and tapa, and he basically left his brother and retired into the jungle to perform austerities. Heti was more inclined into continuing his family tradition and marry. So he married the daughter of Surya. So Surya has a daughter by the name of Bhai, fear. And Surya Dev's wife's name is Sanjana. So Sanjana is the daughter of Vishwakarma. So, and Surya Dev's marriage with Sanjana was kind of interesting in the sense that she didn't really like her husband a lot because she was very scared of him, of his effulgence and his light. So at one point what she did was she made a clone of herself. So she went to her father's house and started living there happily. And the clone was basically doing her responsibilities till the time, so the clone was known as Chaya, till the time that Chaya actually had a child. And then Vishwakarma said, what's going on here? You're over here and I'm hearing news that your husband has a child. And then she confessed. So then Vishwakarma got very upset and sent her back to her husband. So the daughter of Sanjana was Bhai, and Bhai and Heti married, and they had a very powerful, great personality by the name of Vidyutkesh. So Vidyutkesh married another daughter of Suryadev by the name of, she has a long name, by the name of Salakalan Taka. So in relationship she's like her aunt, she's a mother's sister, but I guess at that time it was okay. So Vidyutkesh married Salan Karan Katha, and they were actually very much in love with one another. So much so that when they had a son by the name of Sukeshu, the mother actually abandoned the son because she wanted to spend all the time with her husband. So she abandoned her son in the caves in a mountain, and then she went with her husband to enjoy. So the son was all by himself, and the son's name was Sukeshu. He was crying, and it so happened that at the time Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi were passing by, and they heard the crying of this child, and Parvati Devi being a mother, her heart melted, and she entreated to her husband that we have to protect this child. So Lord Shiva, of course, is very, very affectionate towards Parvati Devi, so he gave the child several benedictions. So he gave him the benediction that he would instantly become an adult. And this is a benediction that stayed with the Rakshasa's race, that the children, as soon as they are born, they become adults. They don't really grow. They almost, within a few minutes, they become adults. He also bestowed several mystic powers on Sukeshu, and he also gave him a magical city that could fly in space. So Sukeshu, extremely effulgent and great devotee of Lord Shiva, and emboldened by all these benedictions, he was ruling his city and traveling in space. And in due course of time, a Gandharv saw him and offered his daughter Devalati in marriage to Sukeshu. So they had 3 sons. So the three sons' names were Malyavan, Sumali, and Mali. So they were all very, very affectionate to one another and extremely powerful. So the three brothers, they went and they performed severe austerities to please Lord Brahma. And then when Lord Brahma appeared, they asked for many benedictions that may our love between the brothers never break, may we never be defeated, all kind of mystic powers, which Lord Brahma bestowed on them. So the three brothers, they went ahead and they conquered the whole universe. Everybody, the Asuras, the Suras, the Rakshasas, they conquered the whole universe. And after all this conquest, they wanted to retire to a suitable place. So they approached Vishwakarma. And they said, can you build a city for us that is commensurate to our stature? So Vishwakarma said, actually I have just finished building a city for Indra, but given that now Indra is subordinate to you, that city is actually yours. And the name of the city is Lanka. And it is built with gold on the peaks of the Trikut mountain. So the three brothers, they entered into Lanka and they began to rule the whole universe from Lanka. So over time, the three brothers, they married the three daughters of a Gandharv known as Narmada, and they had several children. So there was also a yaksha by the name of Suketu, who did not have any children. So he and his wife, they were performing severe austerities to Lord Brahma for a child. And in due course of time, Lord Brahma appeared and asked him, what is it that you want? So Suketu said that, I don't have a son. Can you give me a son? So Lord Brahma said, unfortunately, I cannot give you a son because of your previous activities. You cannot really get a son in this life, but I can give you a daughter. And the daughter will be beautiful and famous and well-versed, etc. So, by the benedictions of Lord Brahma, they had a daughter by the name of Tatak, also known as Taraka. So she was extremely beautiful. And when Sumali heard about her beauty, then he approached her. And he introduced himself, glorified himself as is done by men in this situation, and finally convinced Tatak to marry him. So by the marriage of Sumali and Tatak, three children were born. They were Subhahu, Marich, and Kekashi, a daughter by the name of Kekashi. So later on, and this is not chronologically linear, but later on at one point, Sumali and Suketu, they were both cursed by Agastya Rishi to die. Because Agastya Rishi is one of the Saptarishis, and he has a very short stature, and he has a very short temper also. So once he was going by and both of them started looking at him and making fun of him, so Agastya Rishi got upset and cursed him to die. And when Kartik heard about it, she and her sons became very angry at Agastya Rishi, and they ran towards Agastya Rishi to attack him, and Agastya Rishi cursed them to become Rakshasa, to be like blood-drinking Rakshasas. So they were Yakshas actually, so he cursed them. So that's how Tarka became a demoness or a Rakshasi, and she was actually the first demoness to be killed by Lord Ram, when Lord Ram was going with Vishwamitra. So my Tarka's daughter was Kekashi, who was very, very beautiful and famous in the three worlds for her good qualities. So it so happened that over course of time, the Devas became tired of being ruled by the three brothers. So they went to Lord Shiv saying, help us out over here, because that's not the order of the universe. We rule the upper part of the planetary system, they rule the lower planetary part, and the humans live in the middle planetary part. But right now they're ruling the entire universe. So Lord Shiva was very affectionate to Sukeshu, their father. So he always would give some excuse that, be patient and he would preach to them and send them away. So the Devas started becoming very impatient, and they all went and prayed to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu agreed to help them, and there was a great battle between the Devas and the three brothers, with Lord Vishnu fighting on the side of the Devas. So, as is expected, when Lord Vishnu, wherever Lord Vishnu is there, victory is there. So, of the three brothers, one of the brothers, Mali, was killed in battle, and the eldest brother Malivan, he at the end of the battle, when he saw so much of killing, so much of carnage, he became a renunciate. He said this, and he was always very spiritually inclined. He was an expert in the scriptures. Malivan actually became one of the chief advisors to Raman later on, and he would always advise Raman against going opposite to Lord Ram or kidnapping Sita Devi. Ravan did listen to him, but he had a lot of respect for Malivan. And later on, when Vibhishan took over the throne of Lanka, then he actually appointed Malivan. Malivan was the grandfather. He appointed Malivan as his chief advisor. So, so Malivan went away there. Mali was dead, and Sumali started. So he did a, as what we call in corporate world, a lessons learned kind of a retreat. So he took his main advisors, and he said, why do we always end up in defeat? What exactly is going on over here? And so they kind of went step by step, and they said, well, we were defeated because Lord Vishnu is there. And he said, but why was Lord Vishnu over there? He said, because the Brahmanas are there. And he said, why can't we get Brahmanas on our side? He said, that's a good idea. Try and get some Brahmanas on your side. So then Sumali, he then establishes this this course that let me try and extend my dynasty to Brahmins. And that way, when I have the Brahma Tej, the purity and austerity of the Brahmins in my lineage, then I will also get the favor of Lord Vishnu, and then we can be rulers again. So when the Devas had defeated these brothers, they had driven them out of Lanka, and they were staying in the nether worlds, the Patalu. So Sumali asked his wife, Tarak, that what is the best way for us to get a Brahman lineage in our descendants? So she was a wise woman, and she said that there is a great sage by the name of Vishwarav, and he's famous for his austerities and piety. So if we are able to get our daughter Kankeshi married to him, then we will get advantage of all the Brahmanical powers that Vishrav has. So Vishrav is the son of Pulastya Muni. So Pulastya Rishi is the one of the 10 Manas Putras, mental sons of Lord Brahma. And the birth of Vishrav is also interesting, that Pulastya Muni, of course, is married to one of the 9 daughters of Kartam Muni. And but he is a Prajapati, so as well at the time he had more than one wife. So there was a Raj Rishi by the name of Maharaj Trinavindu, and he had ruled for a very, very long time. And then after that he had given up his kingdom, and he had retired to Mount Meru to perform austerities over there as part of the Varnashram Dharma. So once Pulastya Rishi, he saw the ashram of Maharaj Trinavindu, and he saw that it was really, really beautiful. The plants and the rivers and the waterfalls. So then he decided that he'll stay over there and do his meditation. So Pulastya Rishi, very happily there, he created a small hut for himself, and then he would recite the scriptures and do his meditation. But it also happened that because that area was very attractive, there were a lot of women who would come in that area to just have a good time. So they would come and they would play games and they would laugh, and Pulastya Rishi would get really upset because he was trying to meditate, and then he was constantly getting interrupted. So he kept asking them that Mataji's, don't come here. This is my ashram, but they didn't really pay any attention to him. So finally, Pulastya Rishi got really upset, and then he uttered a curse, saying that this area of the ashram is mine. If any woman enters into this area and my glance falls on that woman, she'll become pregnant. So the Matajis, they took good note on that, so they stayed clear of that area after that. But the daughter of Maharaj Trinabindu, she was a very pious lady, Devparni. And so one day she was around that area, and then she heard Pulastya Muni reciting the Vedas. And it was written, reciting it so beautifully that she became completely lost in the recitation, and she went closer and closer to the time that she actually was standing right in front of Pulastya Rishi. And then Pulastya Rishi glanced at her and she immediately felt the change in her body by the glance. So she went back to her father, Trinabindu, and she said that something terrible has happened. I feel my body changing. And Trinabindu asked her, what exactly did you do? So she told him what all had happened. So Maharaj Trinabindu went into meditation, and then he could understand what had happened. So he went along with his daughter to Pulastya Rishi, and then he begged for his forgiveness that, my daughter didn't know. And it was accidentally that she came. So I'm leaving her here to serve you. So Devrani started living in the ashram of Pulastya Muni as his wife, and very nicely she started serving him. So Pulastya Rishi became very happy with her, and then he gave her this benediction that the son that you will have will be extremely pious, and he will be born well versed in all the Vedic scriptures. So in due course of time, Vishra was born, and he was born extremely effulgent. And he had a lot of natural attraction to austerities and reading of the scriptures. So in fact, his qualities were so attractive that another of the Saptarishi, Bhardwaj, he became very, very enamored by the good qualities of Vishra. And he had a daughter by the name of Ilavida. So he offered his daughter in marriage to Vishra, and Vishra accepted the daughter. So by their union was born Vaishravya. So Vaishravya is also known as Kuber. So when he was born, he, like his father, was very much taken to piety and austerities. So he performed very, very severe austerities to please Lord Brahma. And when Lord Brahma came to give a benediction, so he was also materialistic. So he asked for the position of being one of the Lokapals. So there are 4 Lokapals, and so one of them is Lord Yam, one of them is Varun, one of them is Kuber, not sure who the 4th is. But he asked for the position of one of the Lokapal, and he also asked for mystic powers and fame and wealth, etc. Brahma all gave him. So Kuber started. So the demigods, they were pleased by Kuber's austerities and penances. So they gave him the city of Lanka as his kingdom. So he started residing in the city of Lanka. He also became the leader of the race of the Yakshas. So even though Kuber is not a Yaksha himself, but he became the leader of the Yakshas, and he was happily living in Lanka with his followers. Now, in the meantime, the parents of Kekeshi, Sumali and Tarak, they brought Kekeshi to Vishnu, and they offered their daughter in marriage to him, and Vishnu agreed. But he said, and because he was a great sage with mystic power, he said that this marriage will not be very auspicious. So Kaikeshi said, why? She said he said that the children that will be born by our union will create a lot of disturbances. They will be asuric. So Kaikeshi, even though she was from a Rakshas family, but she herself was very pious. And then she said, what's the point in such a relationship if the progeny are not fit to deliver the parents? So Vishnu said that one of our sons will be a devotee, but other children that we'll have, they will have a lot of asuric propensities. So then Kaikeshi said that, and this goes to talk about the potency of being a devotee. And Kaikeshi said that I'm willing to have hundreds of asuric children if that's the cost I have to pay to have a devotee as a child. So a devotee that appears in a lineage of a family, he benefits several generations before, several generations after, and Kaikeshi was aware of that. So, as predicted, in due course of time, by the union of Kaikeshi and Vishra, the first son that was born with 10 heads, and he was known as Dasa or Dasana. The second son that was born had a very large body, and so Dasa means 10 heads, and Dasanan actually literally means 10 throats. So according to some commentators, it also is a glorification of Raman. So it's kind of interesting that even now in Sri Lanka, Raman is actually considered to be very pious. There are children there that are named Raman and Vasudeva, etc. In fact, the big villain in Lanka is, guess who's the big villain? No, not Vibhishan. They consider Vibhishan to be a demon. Yeah. So nobody has their sons named Vibhishan, and they consider Vibhishan to be a really fallen person. But they have a very interesting twist on Raman, that he had 10 heads, which means that he was well accomplished in the 4 Vedas and the 6 Upavedas. And he was Dasanan, which means that he could chant 10 different kinds of mantras at the same time. And he had 10 heads, which means that in everything that was presented to him, he analyzed it in 10 different ways. And from the perspective of Nyaya, Karma, Dharma, so the different aspects of religion, he was able to analyze every aspect. That's why he was called Dasagiri. So, so in due course of time, and then Kaikeshi had a daughter also by the name of Supnaka. So according to some Purans, Vishnu had, in addition to Kaikeshi, 2 more wives, who were the younger sisters of Kaikeshi. So from one wife he had 2 sons by the name of Khar and Dushan, and from the other wife he had a son by the name of Mahiravan. So, and different Purans expand on the past times in different ways.
Kuber from another wife.
What?
Kuber from another wife?
Yes. So, so in due course of time, the Ravan and Kumbhakaran and Vibhishan and Supnaka, so they grew up in their father's cottage. So once they were standing there and they saw Kuber go in the sky. So Kuber was also a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And once, because of his praise to Lord Shiv, he got what was known as a Pushpak Viman. So Pushpak Viman is like a special kind of an Viman that travels in the air. So it traveled by thought. So you think where you want it to go and it will take you there. And it also was expandable. So it could become small enough for 2 people to sit, and it could become large enough for 20 million people to sit. So it was a mystical Viman. So Kuber was very obviously very proud of it. So once he was traveling in the sky in his Pushpak Viman, Kuber himself effulgent, and he was surrounded by the yakshas who were singing praise and hymns to glorify him. And Kekeshi looked at his children and said, "You are all useless. Look at him. He's there in the sky. Look at because the mother's worth is by the husband and the children. So the husband was the same, and there's always some competition between the co-wives. So she said, look at her son. He has made a name for himself. You are all useless. You have 10 heads. You do nothing out of them." So the mother's words penetrated the children very much. So they all decided to go, and as was appropriate at the time, they went to the Gokarna mountains and performed severe austerities over there to please Lord Brahma. And the austerities was so severe that the whole universe was becoming hot by the effulgence of their body. And the most severe austerities were performed by Ravana. So when Brahma came to give them benedictions, then Ravana asked the benediction that I should not be killed by any Devta, any Rakshas, any Gandharva, any Yaksha. He asked for all this, and Brahma said, okay. Only thing Ravana didn't ask protection was from humans and animals. And of course, because Raman by himself was so powerful, he never assumed that humans or animals would ever pose a threat for him. When it came the chance for Kumbhakaran to ask for benediction, so Kumbhakaran was already pretty heavy duty. The name Kumbhakaran means one whose back touches the sky. So Kumbhakaran, that his body was so large. So Devas were worried that he's already so powerful, and if he asks for some benediction, and he becomes even more powerful, there will be no stopping him. So at the time when Kumbhakaran was going to ask the benediction, then Saraswati Devi actually entered his tongue, and Kumbhakaran wanted to ask the benediction that may I only, because he was very much into enjoyment. So he didn't want to waste any time sleeping. He's like, may I not sleep at all? And Saraswati Devi entered his tongue, and he asked the benediction that may I sleep all the time. Brahma quickly said it. So then Rama said, no, but if you say he sleeps all the time, then he's as good as dead. You can't give him that benediction. So Brahma said, but I've given it to him. I can't take it back, but I can modify it that 6 months he'll get up for 1 day. After that he'll sleep again. So Kumbhakaran had this benediction that he would, well, it was kind of cursed, but he asked the benediction that he would be sleeping for 6 months and get up for a day and then sleep for 6 months again. When it comes to Vibhishan's chant, he asked the benediction that may I become the servant of the Vaishnavas. And it's interesting to see the interplay between Brahma and so all of them have performed austerities. But when Brahma was giving benedictions to Raman and Kumbhakaran, they literally had to pry it out of Brahma. Give me this, give me this. So Vibhishan just asked for this benediction, that may I be the servant of the Vaishnavas. And Lord Brahma was so pleased that from his own side he started giving additional benedictions to Vibhishan. That may you be a king, may you be a Chiranjeevi. So Vibhishan is a Chiranjeevi. There are 7 Chiranjeevis. 2 of them were actually in Ram Leela, Vibhishan and Hanuman. And 2 of them are in Krishna Leela, Ashwathama and Kripachara. So they are people who are deathless, people who don't die in the sun, they live for a very, very long time. So Lord Brahma from his own side was giving benedictions, and Supnaka asked for her own benedictions. She wanted the ability to change to any form, to be able to influence the mind of any man that she wanted. So Brahma gave her this benediction. So now Ravan is like really powerful now, that he has got all these benedictions from Brahma. So what's the first thing that he does? So he has all this. He has all this power of the benedictions. The first thing that he does is that he attacks Lanka, because the whole story started with Kuber. And when Kuber saw Ravan and his army approaching him, then he went to Brahma, saying that what to do. This this is a very powerful person with a large army. And Brahma said, this is not the time for you to fight, because you have to wait when time is more favorable for you. Right now it's not favorable. So he said, just like when if there's a tall tree and the wind that is blowing is very powerful, if the tree stands erect, the wind will break it. But if the tree bends down, then after the wind is gone, it gets another day to stand. So he said, it's time for you to bend. So even before Ravan came to Lanka, Kuber, along with the Yakshas, he ran away from Lanka and he started living in the mountains in the present day Himalaya. So Ravan was very happy that without any battle, he has now got this city of Lanka all by himself. But he was also very greedy, because he wasn't satisfied with what he got. So he had his brother's Pushpak Viman. So he mounted the Pushpak Viman and he started traveling all over the universe, terrorizing people everywhere. So one of the first person that he attacked after that was Yamraj. Because he figured that if I defeated Yamraj, then I can never die. So there was a great battle that happened between Ravan and Yamraj. And when Yamraj began, so Yamraj has a Kal Danda, which is considered to be infallible. So when Lord Brahma gave him this, said that nobody can escape it. So when Yamraj began ready to attack Ravan with the Kal Danda, then Brahma came and said that you cannot do it, because Ravan is protected by my benedictions. And so are you, but one of you has to, so one of you will make me become untruthful, so better for you to withdraw. So Yamraj, he withdrew and Ravan considered himself to be victorious. So as he was traveling in his Pushpak Viman, he saw a great mountain, Mount Kailash, and on the top of the mountain was Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi sitting. So Ravan was so proud of his strength that he landed his Viman and then he walked towards the mountain, and there he saw an extraordinarily powerful and ugly person. So Ravan said, who are you? And the person said, I am Nandi. So Nandi is the bull carrier of Lord Shiva. So Ravan looked at him and started laughing, saying that, you're like a monkey, you're so ugly. So Nandi got very upset, but Nandi, because he's also a demigod, he knew that Ravan was protected by Brahma's benediction, so he didn't attack Ravan, but he cursed him. He said that you're making fun of me by calling me a monkey. Your end will be because of monkeys. So Ravan said, he didn't pay any attention. So then he goes to the base of Mount Kailash, and he dug his 20 hands into the mountain, and he began to pick the mountain up. So as the mountain started shaking, Parvati Devi at the top, she became very agitated. Because you're sitting on the top of a mountain next to Lord Shiva, and suddenly the mountain starts shaking. So she ran to Lord Shiva, saying, my Lord, what's going on? What calamity is coming that this mountain is shaking in this way? So Lord Shiva smiled and said, don't worry about this. this is just one of my devotee who is too drunk on his own power. So Parvati Devi became very angry, and she said that she cursed Ravan, saying that you have caused a woman to be agitated. So a woman will be the cause of your end. And Lord Shiva, with the big toe of his foot, he pressed down on the mountain. So as he pressed down on the mountain, all the 20 hands of Ravan, they were trapped under the mountain. And then he let out a roar of pain that was so loud that it could be heard all over the universe. And then with all his strength he tried to extricate himself, but Lord Shiva's toe was pressed on the mountain and he couldn't do anything. So then his advisors came to Ravan and they said that the only way for you to get out over here is to somehow or the else please Lord Shiva. So Ravan is also an expert in the scriptures. So for 100 years he was trapped in that mountain with his hands under the mountain reciting prayers to Lord Shiva. And after 100 years, Lord Shiva, who's Ashutosh, Ashutosh means one who is easily pleased. Even the 100 years is a long time, but I guess given the grievousness of his offense, it was a short time. So Lord Shiva came down, he released him, and he came down and he said, "You're free to go." So Ravan, of course, is very opportunistic, and he said that he tells Lord Shiva that great sages, they spend hundreds and thousands of years meditating to get your audience. And your audience never goes in vain. And he glorifies Lord Shiva that anybody who sees you is blessed and whatever it is. So Lord Shiva finally figures out and he says, what do you want? So he says that, can I have your Pashupati Astra? So Lord Shiva's personal astra is Pashupati, which Lord Shiva gives him for use for one time. So Lord Shiva also says that, also said that since you cried out so loudly when you were trapped under the mountain, may your name be Ravan. So Ravan means one who cries out very loudly. It also means one who makes other people cry. But Lord Shiva gave him that name, that may you be known as Ravan. So from that day onwards, Dasa was known as Ravan. So after this whole incident, Ravan is now even more emboldened because he has now the benedictions of Lord Shiva. So one of the, it's not a quality, but one of the characteristics of Ravan is that he is very, very lusty. It's very difficult for him to let a woman pass. So as he was traveling, he sees a very beautiful woman by the name of Punjaksthila. And then he molests her. So Punjaksthila actually is a dancer in the court of Lord Brahma. So she goes and complains to Lord Brahma, and Brahma curses Ravan that we should not molest any other woman in the future, or the consequence will be very dire. But Ravan still doesn't pay attention to it, and he goes and molests another Apsara by the name of Ramba. So Ramba is the wife of Nalkuber. Nalkuber is the son of Kuber. So when he actually molests Ramba, Ramba says that you're actually like my father, because my husband's father is Kuber, who's your elder brother. So you have the status of my father. And then Ram says that we are all celestial beings. All these relationships, they are mundane. I don't give any credibility to them. And he goes ahead and molests Rama. So when Nalkuber hears about it, he also gets very angry, and he curses Ravan in the same way that Lord Brahma had done, but in a more severe way. That if Ravan actually touches any other woman, without her consent, then he will die at that very moment. So, so before this, there was another incident that happened, which was with a great. So this was a woman by the name of Vedavati. So Vedavati is the daughter of the brother of Brahaspati. Brahaspati had a brother named Kushatwaj, and his daughter Vedavati she was named Vedavati because when she was born, she was reciting the Vedas, and she was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. So she had only one desire, to get Lord Vishnu as her consort. So for that she would perform very severe austerities. And once Ravan was flying above there, he saw this bright light coming from the middle of the dark forest. So he goes down to investigate, and then he sees this extraordinarily beautiful and effulgent woman. So he assumes the form of a very handsome man, and he approaches Vedavati, and he starts speaking very courteously with her. That this is a very dark and dense forest. There are many dangerous animals. Why are you sitting alone over here? You need protection. I'm the right man to protect you. So Vedavati, of course, she's mystic, so she knows who he is, and she says that I know your Dasa grief, and I just want to let you know that in my mind I have accepted Lord Vishnu as my husband, so I'm not interested in anybody else. So then Ravan starts criticizing Lord Vishnu, saying that very difficult to get, and in fact we're not even sure if Lord Vishnu is still around. I heard he's been killed. So, why are you sitting in the forest, and you've been sitting for such a long time? And then it starts talking about Nyay, that a bird in hand is better than two in bush. I'm standing right in front of you, and I'm offering myself. Lord Vishnu may or may not come. So Vedavati basically says that she's not really interested. So the Ravan reaches forward in anger to grasp the hair of Vedavati. So as he touches the hair of Vedavati, she transforms her hand into a sword, and she cuts off her hair. And then she says that since you have touched me, I am no longer suitable to go to Lord Vishnu, so I am giving up my body, but let it be known that I will be the cause of your death. So she basically created a fire from within her, and she burned herself to ashes. So then it is understood that Vedavati was the Sita that Ravan kidnapped. Because when Ravan was approaching Sita, Sita Devi was surrounded by what is known as the Lakshman Rekha. So the Lakshman Rekha was actually guarded by Agni Dev. So when Sita Devi stepped over the Lakshman Rekha, then Agni Dev, he took the original Sita Devi and he switched her with Vedavati, who is also known as Maya Sita. So the Sita Devi who was actually there in Lanka for 1 year was actually Vedavati. So which is why when he defeated Raman and Sita Devi came, then Lord Ram didn't even look at her because she was not his wife. But when she took the Agni Pariksha, then Vedavati went into the fire, and then the real Sita came out. And then Lord Ram, he accepted her as his wife. So Ravan was cursed in so many ways. And one of the curses that he also got was from Maharaj Anaranya, who was so Ravan appeared many millions of years before Lord Ram. So one of the early ancestors of Lord Ram, who was ruling Ayodhya, was Maharaj Anaranya. And Raman generally did not bother with humans because he considered them to be like insignificant, like insects. But Maharaj Anaranya was such a powerful emperor that he had built Ayodhya into an effulgent kingdom. So Ravan once saw all the gold and the silver, so he attacked Ayodhya. And he fought with Maharaj Anaranya, and he mortally wounded him. So when Maharaj Anaranya was lying on the ground about to die, so Raman came there just to sit there and watch him die, and just to gloat. So then the king said that you should not think So this is the conversation is given in Valmiki Ramayana. It's a very interesting conversation. So the king said that you should not think that you have killed me, because I have been killed by the hands of time. Just like time has killed me, time will also kill you. But he also cursed him that somebody in my own dynasty, in my own lineage, will be the cause of your death. So in this way, Ravan was, and later on Ravan marries Mandodari. Mandodari is the daughter of Mayadanav, and he made his headquarters in Lanka, and from there he was ruling the entire universe. He defeated the Devas, he defeated the Asuras, the Rakshasas, the Nagas, the Yakshas. Everybody was under the dominion of Ravan. And the Devas, once again, who do they go to? So they have this tagline in the Ghostbusters, right? Who do you call? So that's the Devas. When things get really bad, who do you call? So they went and they started once again praying to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu said that in due course of time, I will come. And in preparation for my coming, he gave them several instructions. He told the Devas that you appear in the race of the Kim Purushas. So the different demigods, they expanded, like Indra expanded and came as Sugriv, Vayu expanded and came as Hanuman, Vishwakarma expanded, and so the different demigods expanded and came as different personalities in the Kim Purushas, and they spread around the Earth planet, waiting for Lord Ram to appear. So we can speak a little bit about the appearance of Lord Ram, but I'll take a break over here and see if there are any questions or comments. I think Prabhu, you had a question?
It was a minor point that benediction that Kumbhakarna was taken from Lord Brahma. So I read somewhere that the thing was he wanted Indra's and when Indra got to know, he got scared and then he approached Saraswati Devi and instead of then Indra's he asked for Indra's.
Yes, for Indra's. Quite possible. Once different disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they went to him and they said that when we hear these Puranic pastimes, we hear different versions of it. And so what does it mean? Does it mean that they're inaccurate? So Bhaktisiddhanta says there are two ways to understand it. One is that there are 18 Purans and 6 are in the mode of goodness, 6 in the mode of passion, and 6 in the mode of ignorance. So the same pastime is presented a little differently depending upon who the audience is. And then the second thing is there is something known as Kalpabhed. So Kalpabhed is that in different Chaturyugas, the same pastime is enacted a little differently. So that's why there may be a little difference in the pastime of the Puranas discussion. Okay. Any other questions, comments? So we'll speak a little bit. How much time do we have in the lecture?
We only have 5-10 minutes, but Balaka is not here.
So Balaka is a prasadam provider.
He's not here.
So the pastimes of Lord Ram are long enough to fill in several hours. So I'll speak a little bit about the appearance of antecedents to the appearance of Lord Ram. So Kashyap Muni had a son by the name of Vibhandak. And Vibhandak and his brother, they were really affectionate. Both of them were great sages. And they were living in the jungle performing austerities. So in due course of time, Vibhandak's brother, he married. And when the wife came, she started creating a lot of trouble for Vivanga. She would complain to her husband that he's sitting all day around pretending to do meditation, doesn't do any work, doesn't get any fire for burning, doesn't take care of the laundry, doesn't do anything. So, and the poor brother, he was very affectionate towards Vivanga, but he was finding it very difficult to manage between his wife and his brother. So finally Vivanga said that, just forget it, I'm leaving. So he left his brother's kutir and he went deep into the forest. So in fact he was so upset, he said, I want to go to some place where there are no women. He was upset with Mataji as a whole. He said, I'll go there to a deep, deep part of the forest where there are no women. So he went into the deep part of the jungle and there he started performing very, very severe austerities. So severe that actually Indra started getting scared. Because if somebody has that amount of tapa, then, or by virtue of that, they can actually take over the position of Indra. So as you know, Indra is a position. Different personalities occupy it based on their pious credit. So what does Indra do when he sees that there is somebody performing a lot of austerities? So he sends some apsara to try and break the austerities. So he goes to the usual apsaras, Menaka and Ramba. They all say, we're not going there. So you look at him. He's the personification of austerities. And if we somehow upset him and he curses us, then we are as good as gone. So Indra then goes to Brahma. And he says that, look, my apsaras have basically abandoned me. Is there somebody in your court who can help me? So interestingly, Brahma offers him Punchakstila, the same apsara that was ravished by Ravan. So Punchakstila comes and she comes to the place where Vivanga is performing austerities, and then she looks at him and she looks at Indra and says that you don't have to worry about him. If he wanted, he could have taken over your position a long time ago. But he's not interested in your position. He's just interested in Brahman realization. And Indra said, I don't want to take the risk. So you have to somehow or the else break his meditation. So Punchakstila said, okay. And she being an extremely beautiful woman, she waited patiently for Vivanga to break his, when he took a break from the meditation. And when Vivanga, he saw Punchakstila, he said, what are you doing here? Why have you come? And Punchakstila says, look, I'm a woman and I have come seeking conjugal association with you. So Vibhandak said, that's not part of what I would like to do, but because it is the duty of a man to not refuse a woman in this situation, so he discharged semen and he went away. So Punchakstila, by her, and she was also from Brahmalok, she was a powerful personality, so by her own power, she transferred the semen into the womb of a deer. And then she went away also. So in due course of time, the deer had a child by the name of Rishi Shringa. So Shringa means deer. So he had small horns like antlers like a deer, but otherwise he was a human. And Vibhandak became very fond of him. So he taught him how to perform austerities, meditation, and Rishi Shringa was very, very obedient to his father. And he grew up in complete focus on performing all kinds of meditations and austerities. So now in the meantime, in the kingdom of Ayodhya, there is a great king by the name of Dasarath. So Dasarath was so powerful that even the demigods used to call him to help them out in times of need. So the word Dasarath means, so Das means 10 and Rath means chariots. So Dasarath was so powerful that when he attacked his enemy, they would feel that they were being attacked in all the 10 directions and sounded in all 10 directions. So that's why he called the name Dasarath. So when Dasarath was invited by Indra to a sabha, and Dasarath went over there, so when the sabha was over and he went away, so he turned back and he looked and he saw that some of the attendants of Indra, they were washing the throne on which he was sitting. So Dasarath became curious and he went to Indra and he said, I don't see you washing any other throne. Why are you washing the throne on which I was sitting? And Indra said, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. But Dasarath was insistent. So Indra said, you don't have a son. So a father who doesn't have a son is considered to be carrying sin. So that is why we were glorifying the throne on which you were sitting. So Dasa became very, very offended when he heard that. And then he went back to his court and he was very, very sad. So his minister, his trusted minister, Sumantra, he asked him that what is the reason that you are so sad, and Dasha shared with him. So Sumantra then said that so Sumantra was also a very learned Vedic scholar. He said, look, when I was reading the Vedas, in the Anant Samhita, so part of the Veda is Anant Samhita that is recited by Lord Ananta, the carrier of Lord Vishnu. So in the Anant Samhita, I actually hear you mentioned. And then he told him the pastime, and he said that in there it is mentioned that a sage by the name of Rishi Shringa will come and perform a yajna for you. And as a result of the yajna, the personality of Godhead himself will come in 4 forms to be your son. So Darshan is very happy to hear that. But then he said, where can I find Rishi Shringa? So in the meantime, so back to Rishi Shringa, one of the close friends of Maharaj Dashrath was a king by the name of Ramapad. And Ramapad, as is habitual for kings, used to give a lot in charity to the Brahmins. So Ramapad also did not have any children, but he had a daughter by the name of Shanta. And it is said that his daughter was actually Dashrath's daughter that he had adopted. So once Ramapad was sitting in the court and he was giving in charity to Brahmins. So he had a big bag and he would put his hand inside there and give rubies and jewels, and the Brahmins would take the charity. So once he put his hand in the bag and he opened the hand, and there was a large, beautiful ruby in the hand. So for a moment, Ramapad, he looked at the Brahman. The Brahman was, the Brahmins are Brahmins. They were, they live a life of frugality. So he said that this ruby, this Brahman is not really he won't really appreciate it. So he took the ruby and put it like this, and he took something else out and gave it to the Brahman. So the Brahmins, of course, came to know about it because of their Brahmanical powers, and they got very upset at Maharaj, Ramapad. So they all left his kingdom. So he ruled the kingdom known as Angadesh. So they all left his kingdom, and when they left his kingdom, what happens is, so in the Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned that the Brahmins do the yajnas. By the yajnas, Indra is pleased. Indra gives rains. By the rains come grains. From grain comes vitality. From vitality comes the ability to perform yajna. So this is the cycle of divine life. So when there are no Brahmins, nobody to perform the yajna, so no rain. So for many, many years in Angadesh, there was no rain. And Maharaj Ramapad became very, very, very desolate. And he called Ishtagoshti of his ministers that, how do we get out of this predicament? He said that somehow we have to get the Brahmins back. He said, how do we get the Brahmins back? They're really upset at you. So then one of the ministers said that in a forest close by, there is a great sage by the name of Rishi Shringa who is living there, and he is so pure that wherever he goes, it becomes spring. So the plants start flowering, rain starts falling, and and when Rishishringa comes, the Brahmins will also come. So Maharaj Ramapal said, okay, great, let's call Rishishringa. So the Brahmins said, there's one problem, that he lives in complete isolation. Other than his father, he has never seen anybody else. So then they are like, how to get him? So the ministers, so they basically come up with a plan, and they create a floating city. It's a very beautiful floating city with gardens and swings and small lakes. And some of the most beautiful courtesians in the court, they went on to this floating city, and they took it to the place where Rishishringa's ashram was there. So they would wait for the time that the father Vivantak would go, and when he would go, then these young girls, they would come and they would play with Rishishringa. So Rishishringa had never seen a woman before. So he just thought that they were brahmacharis, but they looked weird. So he just would ask them, what part of the Vedas are you reciting, etc. But as is natural, because of the attraction between a man and a woman, he became very, very attracted to this woman. So finally they convinced him that you come with us and we'll take you to another place where there are a lot more people like us that we can associate with. So Rishishringa agrees. He gets onto this floating city, and they go back to Andhra Pradesh. And as soon as Rishishringa enters into Andhra Pradesh, it starts raining over there, and the flowers start coming up, the trees start reviving. And when Rishishringa comes to Maharaj Ramapal, he greets him very, very humbly, and he offers his daughter Shanta in marriage to Rishishringa, which he accepts. So the ministers are now like, we have to now prepare for the wrath of Vivantak, because he is definitely going to get upset when he finds out that we have seduced and kidnapped his son. So they said, don't worry about it. The ministers said, we'll figure out some way. So in due course of time, Vivantak, when he returns, he finds that his son is no longer there, and by mystic power he understands what's happened. So then he heads towards the kingdom of Maharaj Ramapal. Now as he walks towards the kingdom, at different points, there are different charitable activities being performed. Somebody is giving water to the thirsty, somebody is giving food to the hungry, somebody is enacting shades for the tired. So he stops at all these places and he says, who has done this? Who has done this? And he says, well, it's the son-in-law of Maharaj Ramapal. So in his mind he's thinking that the son-in-law of Maharaj Ramapal is a really fortunate person that is getting to perform so much of charitable activities. So finally when he reaches the kingdom, then he finds out that the son-in-law is actually his own son. So his anger gets pacified, and then he agrees. He puts some conditions and he agrees that okay, my son can stay here as long as he continues on the path of dharma. So in this way, Rishishringa is living in Andhra Pradesh, and then Maharaj Dasharat, he comes and he requests Rishishringa to perform the yajna for him. And Rishishringa eventually performs the Putra Kameshi yajna, and we know the pastime after that there's in a golden ball, Payasam appears, and Maharaj Dasharat, he divides it amongst his three wives, Kaushalya, Sumantra and Kaikeyi. So half the ball goes to Kaushalya, then two portions, 1/4 and 1/8 goes to Sumantra, and 1/8 goes to Kaikeyi. So in due course of time, Kaushalya gives birth to Lord Ram, Kaikeyi gives birth to Bharat, and Sumantra gives birth to Lakshmana and Shatrugna. So I see the food has arrived. We are at a natural ending. No, over here. So Choti Diwali actually is the day when Lord Ram he arrives to Ayodhya. But when he arrives to Ayodhya, he does not enter into Ayodhya because Bharat is ruling the kingdom, and Lord Ram he never made any claims to taking back the throne. He just came back that this is my parental house, this is where my other family is. So on the outskirts of Ayodhya, he sets up a small hut and then he sits over there. So when the people in Ayodhya they hear about the coming of Lord Ram, then there is a small celebration that happens, which is also known as Choti Diwali. And Bharat, he goes to where Lord Ram is with the sandals of Lord Ram. And then he formally invites him. He gives him the kingdom, he gives him his own body, he says, everything that I have is yours. And Lord Ram accepts. And then on the day of Diwali, he actually enters into Ayodhya. So Diwali is on the day of new moon, Amavasya. And the citizens of Ayodhya, they lighted up the city in a way to welcome Lord Ram. Srila Prabhupada makes this point that when Lord Ram entered into Ayodhya, who came along with Lord Ram? Sita Devi. And Sita Devi is none other than Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune. He says that there are so many people who are trying to run after the goddess of fortune, but without Lord Ram. That's the mood of Ram. The Ravan wanted to enjoy Sita Devi, but without Lord Ram. And for that he was killed. But the citizens of Ayodhya, they accepted Sita Devi along with Lord Ram. Their main worship was at the lotus feet of Lord Ram, and as a chaste wife, Sita Devi would go wherever Lord Ram went. So, in order to achieve true prosperity, one does not have to aspire for it separately. When one worships Lord Vishnu, when worships Krishna, then automatically with him everything comes. But when one tries to get things separate from Krishna, when one tries to steal things from Krishna, then even though there may be some temporary enjoyment, but ultimately it will result in suffering of different kinds. So, different acharyas talk about what are the kind of meditations that we can have on this day. So one of them is that we can pray to Lord Ram that so Raman is the personification of lust. And when Lord Ram was trying to kill Ravan, then every time he would cut a head off, another head would come up. And that is the nature of lust. So any time you think that you have controlled a particular aspect of lust, it manifests in a different form. So you give up eating gulab jamuns, you like rasgullas. Not like. You give up. You give up on your material enjoyment. You get pride. So another form of lust. So many people have tried to kill Ravan, but no one succeeded. It actually took Lord Vishnu himself to come and kill Ravan. So we can also pray to Lord Ram that just like he killed the multi-headed demon of lust, Ravan, he also kills this demon of lust in our heart. Because on our own, we can never conquer this demon. Whenever we fight with the demon, we may cut off a few heads, but many more heads will appear. So only when we take shelter of Lord Ram can Lord Ram help us conquer the demon. Lakshman is the personification of steadiness. So Lakshman means Lakshya. Lakshya means goal. And Aman means that he was fixed. He had only one goal, to serve Lord Ram. Nothing else. The 14 years that they were in Vanvas, Lakshman did not sleep. All day he would walk with them, at night he would guard the cottage. His only one desire was to serve Lord Ram. So we can pray to Lakshman that just like he is steady in his service to Lord Ram, we also become steady in our devotional service. Hanuman is the personification of utsaha, enthusiasm. That whatever service that Lord Ram gave to Hanuman, he did over and above that. That Lord Ram said that go and give this ring to Sita Devi. Hanuman gave the ring to Sita Devi and burned Lanka. Lord Ram said that you get this booty, you got the whole mountain. So Hanuman is the personification of enthusiasm and devotional service. So we can pray to Lord Hanuman that just like he always maintained, even when adversity was there, he always maintained enthusiasm. That when the bridge was being built, then Hanuman would get the largest, he would actually break off peaks and get them to make the bridge. So we can pray that we get that kind of enthusiasm. And Sita Devi is the embodiment of service. That regardless of whatever Lord Ram did to Sita Devi was selfless in her devotion. So at this time I'm losing my competition to the kids. So I'll stop over here. Kids are going to do the Narasimha prayer. So if they can come over here. So thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing. Hare Krishna.